you guys are waiting to head out on a European tour again. We've just put a few dates in Australia as well.
Yeah.
Coming off the back of this.
Yeah. There's more Australian dates coming up there for this tour, yeah.
When you guys are out on the road, do you do a lot of sightseeing and do you like to check out the culture, or do you tend to...
Out of the van window exclusively.
Oh, that's... Is this one of the questions?
Is it?
Yeah. We wish we had more time to do it, but it's like you just got to go. We spent 5 hours driving today to come here.
But when you have a tour manager like Andy, he's quite interested in our education, he's always volunteering interesting facts. And so he took us to the Lakes District the last time we drove from Manchester up to Glasgow. That was beautiful. But we only had maybe an hour. We're kind of like,
We don't have to leave till 11 a.m. tomorrow, which is a late one. So we actually have some time to go do some stuff.
What should we see between, say, waking up at 8:30 and 11?
I think I would just have a walk about the city and kind of take what's taken.
Although we don't get to do a lot of sightseeing, you do go to places that you otherwise wouldn't go if you were a tourist, like here.
Yeah.
This is an amazing spot. Like, we've been to Glasgow before and had never heard of this spot. It's beautiful.
We also get fun fact of the day from Andy, our tour manager.
Yeah.
Interesting fact of the day.
Yeah. So, you win some, you lose some. It's good. Yeah.
And to kind of then take it back to music, before we kind of start digging into your stuff a little bit, I want you to remember the first song that you properly connected with and that properly had an impact upon you and you felt like a personal connection with it when you listened to it.
With another artist, like listening to music. I think my memory was feeling it like that connection a lot more when you're a teenager. You got the emotions bubbling up, and I think music sort of feels really profound. I listened to this Australian band called Powderfinger a lot when I was really young. So I think my mum meant to give me one of their albums for Christmas. Santa Claus gives the things sometimes, and I was like 16, but I've got younger brothers, so one of them was still quite young. And I didn't believe in Santa when I was 16, I was younger, 13. I was 13. But she gave it to one of my other brothers by accident, and then he wasn't that interested in it, but he wanted to hire out the CD to me, so he put this price...
Who was this?
Jim.
Oh.
He put this price list on the front. It was like, one listen is $1, but 10 listens is like $6. So he knew his pricing mechanism. He would have been like 10 or 11.
Bloody Jim.
Yeah, anyway, I didn't pay him, and then listened to that CD end on end, and then bought all their other records. And I think that was probably the first band that I really became obsessed with. How about you, Sam?
You were quite obsessed with that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of who I like. I'm trying to think of early childhood. I remember sort of like when we started writing stuff, listening a lot to Foals stuff. Like listening to Foals a lot. Spanish Sahara, which is one that we played. We did a cover of that a couple of years ago. Listening to that a lot when we were sort of starting out as a band. I'm trying to remember who else. My dad used to torture me with listening to Enya and stuff, so that was my
Silhouette,
silhouette, that's my earliest memory. I don't know if I connected with it, but I can remember that blasting in the living room and when I was 4 or 5.
Yeah. Just cranking Enya.
It was
such a peaceful, peaceful music. You crank it
until it's 700.
Stick a kick drum on it. Silhouette.
We should do that.
Yeah, there you go. Enya remix. I don't know that we'd be the first, but we'd probably be the last.
Yeah.
Because our parents would kill us.
I mean, then kind of looking at you guys, you met in a jazz band, yeah?
Pardon?
You guys used to play in a jazz band
together.
When you guys first started writing songs, did playing in bands like those jazz bands kind of have an impact upon the way you were writing songs?
Well, we should clarify there, because although that was where Sam and I developed a friendship, it might mislead people into thinking that, well, I'm definitely not skilled in jazz. It's sort of antithetical to my existence.
Yeah.
I'm
was a high school
totally
jazz band.
uncoordinated. But Sam played some jazz music when he was in school, and then perhaps even a little bit afterwards. So that was anyway how we met. But I was a real pretender, still am.
You actually stood there and literally played nothing in the thing.
Yeah.
I sat right in front of him. I could hear there's nothing happening.
I sort of got shoehorned into it by my
And he
mum.
was playing trumpet to.
Yeah, a trumpet player. Not much of one.
And then heading into this new record that you've just put out, you gave up your day jobs kind of before the recording of it. Is that right? Yeah.
Jack did.
Does that have an impact upon the way you write the album then? Does that kind of affect it all?
I sort of had a bit of a hard old time of doing the second record. It was really I found it incredibly stressful working and doing it, so I knew I didn't want to do that again. And then when I finished work, I was sort of like, well, there's no excuse to not do music every day. So I'd spend about 5-6 hours a day doing music. I'd do some work in the mornings because it's not exactly a lucrative endeavour making music. So I'd do some work in the mornings, then after lunch I'd spend, essentially 5 or 6 hours working on music. And I guess the experience is when you spend more time doing stuff, things happen faster. And so that's probably what precipitated the record coming out sooner than perhaps we anticipated. I don't think we set out to make a record that quickly. It just kind of, I don't know, I was sending songs through, and then I guess we started talking about doing an EP, and then there were some more songs, and was like, oh, maybe we'll do a record. And then that is how we ended up doing another record. Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the beauty of the album as well, is that a lot of it feels like, it definitely feels like a record set today. Like, kind of with some of the themes and stuff running through it. What sort of a time frame was it written over? Was it written quite quickly, or?
It
was written. Yeah, it was written. The lion's share of it was probably written in 5 months. But then we started recording it, and then a couple more songs, like between the first recording session, the second recording session, a couple of 2 more songs written. So I was sort of probably, and we were writing a bit in the studio as well. So probably from around July through to April. So
quick turnaround then.
It's like 10 months from start writing to finish recording, which is kind of quick, I guess. Unless you're
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, who
write
4 albums in a year or something.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how they do that. They must have us
They work 8 days a week.
Oh, 8 days. Incredible.
And in terms of, like Wildcats and about the lyrical ideas and stuff being quite now, it is kind of a little bit of political record. There's definitely some political stuff going on in it. When you kind of address that with your lyricism, is that a way of, kind of contemplating that yourself and kind of cathartic and addressing that? And does that help with dealing with those things? Or?
Yeah. Well, it's political in the sense that informs the songs, but I don't sort of look at songwriting as a way to advocate necessarily.
Or
like
an agenda.
Yeah, it's tricky because I think sometimes people look to musicians or artists to say, well, what should I do? And it's like, well, I don't have an idea, really. So there's more questions than answers, and I think it's a way of processing the world around you. When you got to put words on paper, you kind of have to choose them carefully. I think that's the challenge, or for me at least, I've never, except in rare instances, I've never really had sort of stream of consciousness for writing. So and that's also potentially because of the way in which we've written songs. Like, I guess, say artists like Bon Iver and Australian artists like Paul Kelly that write melodies first and then the words draw on essentially what the music's doing. So that probably also informs what the lyrics do, because they're sort of trying to respond to what the emotion is in the music. The lyrics don't dominate the music. And there's a sort of tension between those two, trying to say something but also not totally override the musicality of the song. Yeah, that's sort of a vague answer.
I mean, you mentioned that the emotion of like the music and the tone of it. That's something that's kind of changed a little bit on this one because it's it's a bit more upbeat and it's kind of changed a little bit in its tone.
Yep.
At what point did that kind of become part of the process? Was that from the start? Or?
Yeah, sort of from the start, it was something that we decided we wanted to do for this record, is make something that was a bit more upbeat, sort of step away, I guess, from the path we went down with Echoes in Blue, which is a bit more cinematic and moody. So we decided, okay, I remember saying like we should make a pop record next, and actually choosing a sort of style to go down. And everyone sort of resonated to that, and so it was a decision, I think, from very early on about what we were going to do.
Yeah. And it's possibly also a product of just being in a better headspace as well. When you're writing music in a good headspace, you probably write music that has more of a pop sentiment to it. But I guess there are lots of pop songs out there that aren't uplifting or upbeat. Do you know any though?
What?
I'm just sort of assuming there are plenty, and I guess a lot of Joy Division's music, like those big hits, they were pop songs, but obviously quite somber pop songs. So yeah, but essentially what Sam said, what he said.
And did you guys work with a new producer on this?
Yeah.
Burke Reed, which I think was part of the process of going, okay, let's do something new. So we step outside, leave the things that we've been doing before at the door, and he really helped us sort of change the processes of the ways that we record things, and even the ways we were writing the chord structures and melodies. Really narrowing down into certain parts and making sure that everything was working together, which is a sort of, I guess, the process you need for pop songs. They're often quite simple, but everything is working in concert together perfectly. So he was really able to help us do that, to burrow down and look at elements and make sure they're all sort of working together and simplify things a lot, I think.
There were maybe 2 or 3 things that he kept going back to, which was, one, if we've got a good song, you should be able to hear it played in the room next door and still recognise the song. And the second was, when we were recording, we had to get drums, bass and guitars just locked in. And that was really hard. I found that in the past we might have put that in too hard basket, but he was unrelenting in that sense. He was just like, no, back to the well. We're going to keep working on this. But once we got that in place, like Sam's parts and my parts kind of hung off that. It's like having a really good foundation for a song. Then, Sam's, like, one of his strengths is coming up with great synth sounds, and it I guess maybe helped form what you should do in that sense. Whereas I wonder in the past, because we didn't really lock anything down, we were constantly putting in and taking out, which we still did a little bit of, but it wasn't to the same extent. I don't know. I think that's my memory of it.
And were there things that you learned from working with Malcolm that you then carried over when you started working with Burke?
Totally. Like you learn on every record, and I think one of the things that Mal was so good at was essentially just helping us find our sound, and a large part of our sound has come from, say, Sam's keyboard arrangements, but just sort of helping us refine that a bit for those records. Whereas working with Burke was a lot more, we wanted to do something quite different to what we'd done in the past. So we needed someone who would push us out of our comfort zone. And that's not to say, with Malcolm, that it was kind of resting in our comfort zone, but also, young band, you need to kind of like find what do
is
we
it?
what do we
What
do,
is our
what do we do
comfort zone?
well,
Yeah.
what is our comfort zone, and that's often a real challenge, is to find out, like, get those answers. And Malcolm definitely helped us get those answers, and then then we knew what we didn't want to do again, not because we didn't like it, but just you keep rehashing the same stuff again and again, and there's not much point. Yeah.
When you were working on this record, were you all quite in unison, or were there things that kind of caused conflict with each other? And what was the kind of atmosphere like in the studio when you were making this?
We all usually get along quite well, actually. I think we're quite lucky in that regard.
Yeah.
I mean, there is always going to be tensions going, and I think that's kind of important, because the reason why I play in this band is because things that they assist me with, and reverse, when you put all these minds together, I think you end up with a better product. So there are inevitably going to be, disagreements or arguments about stuff, but even that sort of happens pretty rarely for us. I think we're usually quite good with people explaining, okay, I think this, I think that, okay, well, maybe this is the right thing to do, but instead of just sort of having two positions that just water down an idea to be neither. I think the atmosphere was, from my perspective, pretty good. It was nice where we recorded as well, a place in New South Wales, in Australia. It was out in sort of more remote bush area, I guess you'd call it, and so it was quite relaxing environment. We lived at the studio there, whereas before we've recorded, we've gone home each night in Melbourne.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
Yeah. There were some long days. I was actually, it's funny now that you say that, because you're totally right. I think it's even more, like, we got along really well, even though we were all just wrecked, like, so tired. And so, when you get tired, can get a bit grumpy. But I think we all, I don't know, I can't remember any significant arguments.
No.
Which is good. I think we've been friends for so long that it's, we didn't kind of meet through, well, Sam and I haven't, at least. Like, we've been friends since we were 13 or 14 years old. So there's kind of, have a disagreement. We've always kind of been able to get past that. I can be a bit of a dickhead.
You can.
I can be a bit of a dickhead. Yeah. More so than others. Yeah. So anyway, it's probably more kudos to the other guys for putting up with me than vice versa.
And I mean, when you listen back to not only this album but the other two before it, do you get different feelings from listening to each album? Do they kind of evoke different emotions in you? And if so, what ones?
Yeah, definitely. What ones? I think there's an element of Echoes in Blue that I do like, that darkness to it, that really sort of brooding. Works really well from Jack's vocals, a bit more sort of bass, baritone parts, but and the way that the sort of synths are all bubbling,
simmering
away.
Yeah.
And then In a Restless House, I don't know, sort of. It does contain, we were saying before, this sort of
naivety.
Yeah, naivety is the word we were talking about. I don't know. It's you sort of remember back to where you were at as well with those, and there is this naivety that surrounds not just the music, but the way being in a band and going on tour and exploring that stuff when you don't know what it's about.
Yeah, I'm always impressed by young artists who have a really defined sense of who they are and what they want to do. I feel like if we look back at our sort of first music, you're kind of just wandering around. We didn't have that, but then at the same time, I don't look at that as being good or bad. I am impressed when you see someone like Lorde or what's her name, Billie Eilish. It's just like, it's pretty amazing. It's, they're like, I guess when Lorde broke, she was 16, and when Billie Eilish broke, she's 15 or 16, and it's, I still don't have a sense of artistic control.
And owning that sound as well. They both own their sounds so well.
And in a persona, it's like they're, old people in young bodies. But at the end of the day, I haven't listened to our records. I rarely listen to our music once it's been done, because I've done it so much. But I have a very similar perception to Sam, which is we just kind of, you're sort of wandering around, and you feel as if the longer you do it, you get a bit closer to the centre without really feeling like you've worked it out. And so, yeah, it's the same on this record. Kind of getting a little bit closer to, I don't know,
What's
something.
in the centre?
I don't know what's in the centre. That's the problem.
Cheese.
Yeah, it could be cheese.
Wallace and Gromit's cheese.
Yeah, and then we'll work out, we could have bought cheese from the supermarket instead of, going to Paris on a gig. Although, when we were in Paris last time, I ate a bit too much cheese. I was feeling physically ill before we played.
Please don't do that again.
Well, when in Paris. Yeah.
I mean, to finish off, I want to pick up on something you said there about the kind of naivety with the first album.
But what's sorry?
The naivety of the first album. How do you think your songwriting has developed as you've matured as people and as a band?
There's, at least from the production side of putting things together, I think, like working with Malcolm, working with Burke, like I was saying, everything is sort of put under the microscope and analysed. And so in that regard, I think there was a bit less of checking everything and with some of the early records, particularly the first one, in Restless House. And I think there's there can be some good parts and bad parts, I think, that come out of that.
Yeah. It's funny on that point. We were listening to, on the drive up here, the guys were watching a documentary about Sgt. Pepper's, and I was in the front seat, so I was listening, and one of the comments that the guy was presenting the documentary made was on Sgt. Pepper's, 12 or 15 songs that they recorded, even if they didn't all get released, used harmonic modulation into different keys. And so many of the songs on that record, it's an amazing record because every song's amazing. But also at the same time, there are so many great songs where it runs on the same two chords the whole way through the song, or three chords. It's just this sort of train of thought.
You're interrupted.
Yeah, where you're not, modulating into different keys, and so I think I kind of look at our earlier stuff, and Rabbit Run's essentially just two chords, whereas say Lucy Bradley, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff happening in that song, and they both have their own flavour, and I don't look at either of them as being a better song. I think they're just, I know more about music now, about songwriting as a kind of practice. So you're going to engage with those ideas more as you go further down. But I don't think that necessarily makes the songs better. It can, but I don't know. Maybe I just
make things more complex, and whether that's better or not.
Yeah, but I guess I don't feel like I'm not going to be a good judge of our music in that sense. I think lyrically I've sort of tried to be more direct, or kind of I'll get the phrases to cut more. I think on the first record, and then I've gradually got better at kind of being able to find a moment in a line, which I wasn't able to find previously. But that's, again, just sort of trying shit and seeing if it sticks, and there's lots of revisions, so it's not this sort of train of thought kind of process. It's just practicing it, and a lot of errors. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Cool. Oh, it's a pleasure. Thanks, Alex. Cheers.
Thanks.